You're standing in the kitchen. Your child just spilled juice all over the floor for the third time this week, and you feel that familiar heat rising in your chest. Your jaw clenches, your voice gets sharp, and then, 10 minutes later, after you've yelled or snapped or stormed off, you're flooded with guilt because you promised yourself you'd do better. You promised you wouldn't react the way your parents did. But here's the brutal truth nobody talks about. You can't teach your child emotional regulation when you were never taught it yourself. Welcome to the Parenting Blueprint. I'm here to tell you something that might actually set you free. You are not broken. You are not a bad parent. You are simply trying to give your child something you never received. And that is one of the hardest, most courageous things a human being can do. But here's what's also true. Your good intentions aren't enough. Your child doesn't need a perfect parent. They need a parent who is willing to learn alongside them. Today, we're going to talk about the gap between the parent you want to be and the parent you become when you're triggered. We're going to explore why emotional regulation feels impossible when you're operating from an empty tank. And most importantly, I'm going to give you practical, compassionate strategies to start healing yourself while teaching your child the skills you both deserve. Let's start with what nobody told us. Emotional regulation isn't about never getting angry. It's not about being calm all the time or having endless patience. That's a myth that keeps parents trapped in shame. Emotional regulation is the ability to recognize what you're feeling, understand why you're feeling it, and choose a response rather than being hijacked by a reaction. It's the space between stimulus and response. And if you grew up in a home where emotions were ignored, punished, or explosive, you literally don't have the neural pathways for that space. Your brain was wired for survival, not for pausing. Think about it. If you grew up hearing, "Stop crying," or "I'll give you something to cry about," your brain learned that emotions are dangerous. If your parents yelled when they were stressed, your brain learned that big feelings require big reactions. If nobody ever helped you name what you were feeling or showed you how to calm down, how on earth are you supposed to teach that to your child? You're not failing. You're simply trying to speak a language you were never taught. And here's where it gets even harder. Your children are watching you. Not just when you're parenting intentionally, but in every moment. They're watching how you handle frustration when you're stuck in traffic. They're watching what you do when you burn dinner. They're absorbing your relationship with your own emotions, and that becomes their blueprint. This isn't about guilt. This is about awareness. Because once you see it, you can change it. So before we go any further, I want you to do something for me. If this is resonating with you, if you've ever felt that crushing weight of trying to be different than your parents but not knowing how, drop a comment below and just say, "I'm learning too." Let's build a community of parents who are brave enough to admit we don't have all the answers. And if you're new here, hit that subscribe button because we're going to walk this path together, one honest conversation at a time. And here's something special. We have a channel membership with 2 exclusive levels that give you early access to videos before anyone else sees them, bonus content that goes deeper into topics like this, and a community of intentional parents just like you. If you're serious about breaking generational patterns and raising emotionally healthy kids, that membership is your next step. Check it out in the description below. Let's talk about what actually happens in your brain when you lose it with your kids. Because understanding the science doesn't just make you feel better, it gives you the roadmap for change. When your child does something that triggers you, whether it's defiance or whining or that juice spill we talked about, your amygdala, the alarm center of your brain, perceives a threat. Now, rationally, a spilled juice box isn't a threat. But your amygdala doesn't care about rationale. It's operating on programming that was installed decades ago. If you grew up in chaos, in a home where you had to walk on eggshells or where your needs were dismissed, your nervous system learned to stay on high alert. That means your threshold for perceived threat is lower than someone who grew up feeling safe and regulated. You're not overreacting. Your body is doing exactly what it was trained to do. It's protecting you from a danger that no longer exists, but it doesn't know that yet. This is called a triggered response, and it bypasses your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for thoughtful decision-making. In that moment, you're literally not operating from your full adult brain. You're operating from your wounded child brain. And here's the part that breaks my heart. In that triggered state, you often do to your child exactly what was done to you. The parent who swore they'd never yell becomes the yelling parent. The parent who promised to listen becomes dismissive. It's not because you're a hypocrite. It's because under stress, we default to our earliest programming. This is called generational trauma, and it doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. But here's the hope. Neuroplasticity. Your brain can change. You can literally rewire those pathways, but it requires something most parents don't give themselves: permission to start with yourself first. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and you cannot regulate your child when you're dysregulated. This isn't selfish. This is foundational. So what does starting with yourself actually look like? First, you need to build awareness of your own emotional patterns. Start noticing what triggers you. Is it certain times of day? Is it specific behaviors? Is it when you're hungry or tired or overwhelmed? Keep a simple notes file on your phone. When you lose your cool, jot down what happened right before. Don't judge it. Just observe it. You're becoming a detective of your own nervous system. Over time, patterns will emerge, and patterns give you power. Second, you need to learn what your body does when it's getting activated. Does your chest get tight? Does your breathing get shallow? Do your hands clench? These are your early warning signs. Most parents don't notice they're escalating until they've already exploded, but your body is sending you signals long before that point. The more you tune in, the more opportunity you have to intervene before you're fully hijacked. Third, and this is non-negotiable, you need regulation tools in your toolkit. I'm not talking about bubble baths and candles, although those are nice. I'm talking about evidence-based practices that calm your nervous system in real time. Box breathing. Breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. This signals to your vagus nerve that you're safe, and it brings your prefrontal cortex back online. Progressive muscle relaxation. Tense and release each muscle group. It discharges the physical stress that gets trapped in your body. Cold water on your wrists or face. This activates your dive reflex and instantly calms your system. Here's what I want you to understand. These aren't luxuries. These aren't things you do when you have time. These are emergency tools, and you practice them when you're calm, so they're available when you're not. Think of it like a fire drill. You don't wait until there's a fire to figure out where the exits are. Now let's bridge the gap between your healing and your child's learning. Because the beautiful thing is, when you start regulating yourself, you're simultaneously teaching your child. They don't learn emotional regulation from your lectures. They learn it from your modeling. They learn it when they see you pause, take a breath, and say, "Mommy's feeling really frustrated right now, so I'm going to take a minute to calm down." That sentence is worth more than 1,000 timeouts. But let's be real. You're not going to get it right every time. You're going to yell. You're going to slam doors. You're going to say things you regret. And here's where the real teaching happens: the repair. When you've been triggered and you've reacted in a way that doesn't align with your values, you go back to your child and you repair the rupture. You get down on their level, you make eye contact, and you say something like, "I raised my voice at you earlier, and that wasn't okay. I was feeling overwhelmed and I didn't handle it well. That's not your fault. I'm working on managing my big feelings better, and I'm sorry I let mine spill onto you." Do you know what you just did? You modeled accountability. You modeled that adults make mistakes. You modeled that relationships can survive conflict. You modeled that feelings are manageable, not shameful. You showed your child that when we mess up, we own it and we try again. This is emotional regulation in action, not perfection. repair. And here's something crucial. Don't make your child responsible for forgiving you in that moment. Don't say, "Do you forgive me?" or "Are we okay now?" That puts pressure on them to manage your guilt. Simply apologize, take responsibility, and move forward with changed behavior. Your child will trust your words when they match your actions over time. Now let's talk about teaching your child in the moment. When your child is having a meltdown, whether they're 3 or 13, the absolute worst time to teach emotional regulation is during the meltdown. When they're in fight or flight, their thinking brain is offline, just like yours is when you're triggered. They cannot learn in that state. So your first job is not to correct or lecture. Your first job is to co-regulate. Co-regulation means you lend your child your calm nervous system. You get physically close if they'll allow it. You lower your voice. You slow your breathing. You might say, "I'm right here. You're safe. I'm going to help you get through this." Your energy matters more than your words. If you're escalated, you'll escalate them further. If you're calm, you become the anchor they need. Once they've calmed down, and this might be 5 minutes later or 2 hours later, that's when you can teach. You can say, "That was really hard for you earlier. Let's talk about what happened." Help them name the emotion. It sounds like you were feeling really angry when your brother took your toy. Children often don't have the vocabulary for their internal experience. Angry, sad, scared, frustrated, disappointed, these words give them power over their feelings instead of their feelings having power over them. Then you can explore what happened in their body. Where did you feel that anger? Did your tummy feel tight? Did your face feel hot? This builds somatic awareness, and it's a skill most adults still don't have. You're giving your child something extraordinary. Then, and only then, you can problem solve together. Next time you feel that angry feeling starting, what could you do? Could you take some deep breaths? Could you come find me? Could you squeeze a pillow? Give them options. Let them choose what resonates. Here's the progression. Name it, feel it, express it safely. Name the emotion. Feel where it lives in the body. Express it in a way that doesn't hurt self, others, or property. This is the framework for a lifetime of emotional health. Let's talk about the ages and stages, because emotional regulation looks different at every developmental phase, and knowing what's realistic for your child's age will save you so much frustration. If you're expecting a 3-year-old to calm themselves down independently, you're going to be disappointed, and they're going to feel like a failure. If you're still doing all the regulation work for your 13-year-old, you're not preparing them for the world. For toddlers and preschoolers ages 1 to 5, they have almost zero capacity for self-regulation. Their prefrontal cortex is barely online. They are pure emotion with legs. Your job is complete co-regulation. You are their external regulator. You're the one who stays calm when they're melting down over the wrong color cup. You're teaching them that big feelings are survivable, that they're not alone in their overwhelm, and that calm always comes after the storm. At this age, simple tools work best. Blowing bubbles to practice controlled breathing, squeezing Play-Doh, jumping up and down, singing a calm down song together. Make it playful, not punitive. For early elementary, ages 5 to 8, they're starting to develop some awareness of their emotions, but they still need tons of support. They can start to recognize when they're getting upset, but they can't always stop the train once it's left the station. This is the age where you create a calm down corner together, not as a punishment, but as a resource. Let them help decorate it. Put in sensory tools, a soft blanket, a fidget toy, noise-canceling headphones, drawing supplies. Teach them that when their body is giving them warning signs, they can go to this space to reset. Practice using it together when everyone is calm, so it's familiar when they need it. For tweens, ages 9 to 12, the emotional intensity ramps up as puberty approaches. Hormones are surging, and their brain is undergoing massive reconstruction. They're capable of more sophisticated emotional reasoning, but they're also dealing with social pressures, academic stress, and identity formation. They need you to respect their growing independence while still being the safe harbor. This is the age where you teach them to track their own patterns. Maybe they keep a mood journal. Maybe you check in at dinner. What was a high today? What was a low? What's something you're worried about? Normalize talking about emotions like you'd talk about the weather. Give them language for the nuances. Not just angry, but irritated, frustrated, furious, betrayed. Precision helps. For teens, ages 13 to 18, they should be building genuine self-regulation skills, but they're also dealing with the most complex emotional landscape of their lives so far. Romantic relationships, peer drama, existential questions, future anxiety. They need you to step back and trust the foundation you've built while remaining available. Ask permission before offering advice. Do you want my input, or do you just need me to listen? Respect their emotional privacy while staying attuned to warning signs of deeper struggles. Teach them adult regulation tools. Going for a run, journaling, talking to a trusted friend, knowing when to seek professional support. Model that asking for help is strength, not weakness. Here's what cuts across all ages: consistency and patience. You will have to teach the same lesson 1,000 times in 1,000 different ways. That's not failure. That's childhood. Their brain is still developing. Yours is still rewiring. Give everyone in your house permission to be a work in progress. And let's address the elephant in the room. What if you're doing all of this and you're still getting triggered constantly? What if the tools aren't enough? This is where I want to speak directly to you with compassion. If you experienced significant trauma, neglect, or abuse in your childhood, you may need more support than a YouTube video can provide. And that's not a weakness. That's wisdom. Therapy, particularly trauma-informed therapy, or EMDR, can help you process the wounds that are still running the show. Parent coaching can give you personalized strategies. Support groups can remind you that you're not alone. There is no shame in needing help. In fact, seeking help is the ultimate act of breaking generational cycles. You're saying, this pattern stops with me, and that is revolutionary. Let's talk about the days when you feel like you're failing, because those days will come. You'll have a week where you yelled every single day, where you didn't pause once, where you felt like you became your parent, the one you swore you'd never be. And in those moments, the shame can be suffocating. But I need you to hear this. Shame is not the same as guilt, and knowing the difference could change everything for you. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I am bad. Guilt is productive. It motivates change. Shame is paralyzing. It makes you want to hide, to give up, to believe you're too broken to do better. When you catch yourself spiraling into shame, when that voice in your head is saying you're a terrible parent, you need to recognize that voice. That's not truth. That's your own unhealed child, the one who was made to feel that their emotions were too much, that they were too much. You need to talk back to that voice with the compassion you're learning to give your children. You need to say, I'm learning, I made a mistake, and I'm going to try again tomorrow. My child needs a parent who keeps trying, not a perfect parent. Say it out loud if you have to. Write it on a sticky note on your bathroom mirror. Text it to a trusted friend and ask them to remind you when you forget. Here's something else nobody tells you. Your healing and your child's development are happening simultaneously, and sometimes they're going to be out of sync. There will be seasons when you're doing the work, reading the books, going to therapy, practicing your breathing, and your child is still struggling. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. Change takes time. Trust is rebuilt slowly. Your child's nervous system is also learning that it's safe to feel, and sometimes that means bigger emotions before things get calmer. Stay the course. And there will be seasons when you're completely depleted, when you have nothing left to give, when survival mode is the only mode. In those seasons, please hear me. Doing the bare minimum is enough. Keeping everyone fed, safe, and alive is enough. You don't have to be teaching emotional regulation lessons during a family crisis, during a divorce, during a job loss, during grief. Sometimes the lesson is simply, we're going through something hard, and we're going to get through it together. That's profound teaching too. I also want to give you permission to celebrate the small wins, because in this work, the wins are often invisible. You paused for 3 seconds before responding. That's a win. You noticed you were getting activated and you stepped outside for 2 minutes. That's a win. You apologized to your child within an hour instead of letting it fester for days. That's a win. You asked for help. You admitted you're struggling. You showed up to watch this video because you want to do better. Those are all wins. Stack them up. They matter more than you know. Let's also talk about your support system, because you cannot do this alone. Parenting was never meant to be a solo act. You need people who get it. People who won't judge you when you admit you lost it over something small. People who will remind you that you're doing better than you think. If you don't have that in your life right now, find it. Online parenting communities, local parent groups, a therapist who specializes in parenting, a trusted friend who's also in the trenches. You need witnesses to your effort, not just your outcomes. And here's something practical. Talk to your partner if you have one, or to any co-parent in your child's life about emotional regulation. Get on the same page. It's devastating to be working so hard to stay calm and then watch your partner blow up at your child. Have the hard conversations. Share what you're learning. Practice together. Agree on signals you can give each other when you notice the other person escalating. This isn't about policing each other. It's about being a team. One more thing before we wrap up. I want you to know that the work you're doing, the fact that you're even here learning this, means you've already broken the cycle. Your parents didn't watch videos about emotional regulation. They didn't question their patterns. They didn't lie awake at night wondering if they were damaging you. But you're doing all of that. You're interrupting generations of pain, and that is sacred work. It's hard, messy, imperfect work, but it's sacred. Your child is going to grow up knowing that emotions are safe, that they can come to you with their biggest feelings, that mistakes can be repaired, that adults are trustworthy, that they are worthy of patience and compassion. And they're going to know all of that because you did the incredibly brave thing of learning it for yourself while teaching it to them. So let's bring this all together with the practices that will actually make a difference in your daily life. Because information without application just becomes another thing to feel guilty about. And you've got enough of that already. I want you to walk away from this video with 3 concrete commitments you can make today. Not someday, not when life calms down, but right now. Commitment number 1. Identify your top 3 triggers and your go-to regulation tool for each one. Maybe mornings are chaos for you. The trigger is rushing, multiple demands, everyone needing you at once. Your regulation tool might be waking up 15 minutes earlier to have silence with your coffee, or doing 10 jumping jacks in the bathroom to discharge the stress energy. Maybe the trigger is sibling fighting. Your tool might be stepping into another room and doing box breathing before you intervene. Maybe the trigger is bedtime battles. Your tool might be a mantra you repeat silently. This is not an emergency. We will get through this. Write these down. Put them somewhere visible. Make them as automatic as brushing your teeth. Commitment number 2. Practice 1 repair conversation this week. Think back to a moment in the last few days where you didn't show up the way you wanted to. Maybe it was yesterday. Maybe it was this morning. Go to your child and repair it. Use the language we talked about. Take responsibility without making excuses. Don't wait for the perfect moment. There is no perfect moment. Just do it. And then notice how you feel afterward. Notice how your child responds. This is how you build resilience in your relationship. Commitment number 3, extend yourself the same compassion you're learning to give your child. When you mess up, when you get triggered, when you feel like you're back at square one, put your hand on your heart and say, I'm doing the best I can with what I have right now. I'm learning. I'm growing. I'm enough. This isn't just positive thinking, this is nervous system regulation. Your body responds to your own kindness. Give yourself that gift. Here's the truth about this journey. It's not linear. You're going to have breakthrough weeks followed by breakdown days. You're going to feel like you've mastered something and then get completely blindsided by a new trigger you didn't know existed. That's not evidence that this doesn't work. That's evidence that you're human, that your child is human, that life is complex and messy and beautiful and hard all at once. The goal is not to never get triggered. The goal is to get triggered less often, to recover more quickly, to repair more consistently, and to trust that you're building something different for your child than what was built for you. Every single time you pause instead of react, every single time you name an emotion instead of shaming it, every single time you apologize and try again, you are laying down new neural pathways in your brain and in your child's brain. You are creating a new legacy. And years from now, when your child is grown, they might not remember the specific lessons you taught them about breathing or the calm down corner you created together. But they will remember how they felt in your presence. They will remember that their emotions were met with curiosity instead of punishment. They will remember that you weren't perfect, but you were present. They will remember that you kept showing up, kept trying, kept choosing love over fear. And they will carry that into their own lives, into their own relationships, maybe even into their own parenting. That is how cycles break. That is how healing happens. One brave, imperfect parent at a time. So thank you for being here. Thank you for doing this work. Thank you for having the courage to look at your pain and say, I'm going to make sure my child doesn't carry this. Before you go, I want to hear from you one more time. Drop a comment and tell me one thing you're going to try differently this week. Just one thing. And if this video resonated with you, if you found even one piece of it helpful, please subscribe to the Parenting Blueprint. We're building something special here, a community of parents who are brave enough to heal while they raise. I'll see you in the next one. You've got this.